So if you could open up the chat and share your name, your geographic location, and the topic, just the topic of a professional learning session you've had recently or you plan to have. So, you know, if it's something on STEM or engagement, exactly. So thank you, Mark, Louisville feedback, exactly. I don't know if that's real or just an example, if you really were a part of a feedback session.
That was real.
Okay, good, good. So yeah, let's see who's in this session. And also, oh, I'm getting some feedback here.
Let me see if we can.
Let's see. No. Huh. Is everyone else?
Jen, can you unmute yourself there?
Okay, yep.
There you go.
Great. So it's great to see everyone. Take a look in the chat, see what all of your colleagues are working on. Debbie in Kentucky, leading for equity, fantastic. Leslie in Buffalo, New York, data champs, not just data, but data champs. Sounds intriguing. Letitia is working on RTI, fantastic. Tammy in Florida, also RTI. Hey, maybe we can make some connections here, set up some buddies. Ginny, also working on equity, good. Maybe you can team up with Leah to get to brainstorm together. Luann, co-planning and engagement. Oh, good. Pay attention today. Another person, RTI. Make sure you introduce your own name too and where you're from, so we can just get a sense of who everyone is. Great. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. I am going to introduce myself. Just give me a second. Let's see. Can everybody see that okay? Yes?
Yes,
okay.
You're fine.
Okay, fantastic. So thanks everyone for taking the time to join us today. I know everyone is super busy and thank you, Mark, for having me. I really appreciate it. I was here recently and did a session on habits. Anybody join for habits? Our conversation. I thought that was a great conversation. But as Mark said, I run the Main Idea, and it's a service where each month I send a summary of an education book to leaders all across the globe. And at the end, I give some PD ideas that leaders can use to implement in their schools. And when I'm not doing that, I also facilitate online groups of about 8 to 10 school and district leaders as part of what we call masterminds. We meet every other week for professional learning, support, coaching, and they're great. If you're interested in joining, reach out to me. So today, what are we doing today? Today, we are going to be talking about what does it take to make your professional learning stick. So briefly, we will talk about why professional learning now, what the research says about what makes professional learning stick. And then I'm going to share 2 tools that you really don't want to be without to plan your workshop. And then we're going to collaboratively and actively engage in creating a mock workshop together. And then you're going to go off in breakout rooms and share your own ideas for professional learning with colleagues and get some feedback and some ideas about that. A couple of overarching themes. One, this is interactive, even though it's like a coffee break. It's not just to sit back and have coffee. I'd love for you all to share your ideas in the chat and share with each other. And if you do stay through the breakouts, I may be saving you thousands of dollars, because not all leaders feel comfortable running professional learning, or they only feel comfortable with certain topics, or they do feel comfortable, but it's time to bump it up to the next level. And a lot of people pay, you know, thousands of dollars to bring someone in for a half day. And I think a lot of it you can do yourself. So I hope you will stay through the breakout room, and let's see if I can help you save those thousands of dollars. So we're going to start with why professional learning now. So I don't know if any of you have read the Distance Learning Playbook for School Leaders. They have the Distance Learning Playbook, which I talked about in a previous session, but they have one specifically for leaders, which is also just fantastic. I recommend it. And in the book, they say, if there ever was a time to invest in the learning of adults, it's now. If there ever was a time to invest in the learning of adults, it's now. I'm wondering if you can take a moment and answer in the chat, why do you think they said this about this moment in time? If there ever was a time to engage in the adults in professional learning, it's now. Love to hear some thoughts in the chat. Distance learning is a new beast from some seasoned teacher. Yes, the mold is broken. Educators are definitely ready for change. There is a lot of new learning going on, right? You just have to go online. It's free. We're doing it right now. Yeah, people are looking for connection, and what better way to connect than over, improving teaching and learning at your school. That's a great bonding and trust building activity to do. And yeah, we've come to the point where we're reimagining our work. So in order to reimagine our work, we often have to learn something. I love that from, is it Hyatt? If we keep doing what we've always done, we'll keep getting what we've always gotten. Exactly. If we want change, we're going to have to do something different. And the pandemic has ripped open a lot of inequities and things that we could be doing better. Oh, hey, Anna, how are you? Yeah. People are not fighting by saying this is the way things have always been done. It's a different time. People are open. Their minds are open. Yes, addressing uncertainties. There's a great deal of uncertainty with the pandemic. So what an opportunity to ground our teachers and our staff members in some learning, to give them some piece of control, some piece of, how they can make some change. And yes, this pandemic really has forced some overdue rethinking of strategies. Thank you, Joe. Yep. Yep, and it's time to make changes, hard changes and improvements. Absolutely. So this is a good time to make changes. But let's talk a little bit about the professional learning that's happening in your schools. So I'm wondering if everybody could name all of the ways that the adults in your building or your district are learning. So you could just make a list. What are all the ways that the adults in your building are learning right now, if you could share in the chat? And then we'll talk a little bit about what the research says about what makes professional learning effective. Okay, so in some places, there are district and school-wide professional learning sessions. I love it. Tamara says self-study. Absolutely. A lot of adults are learning on their own, group studies, online and in person. Consultants come in virtually. Yep, same way they used to come in person. We still have consultants coming in. Learning from one another. Leslie, you want to unmute and share a little bit about what you mean by that, learning from one another?
Oh, so we really, good morning, how are you? Before I start talking. Just learning from one another, we just bounce best practices off of one another. If someone learns something and another person is struggling with it, we support each other. So we kind of have a village concept of raising each other up during this time, because a lot of stuff is new for everyone. So when someone learns something, we pass it on and try to lift everybody else up.
So you catch someone doing something good and the word kind of gets spread all around. Great. And there definitely are some structures people put in place to ensure that their teachers are learning from each other, right? That they just don't happen to catch each other in the hallway, whether it's a teacher team or professional learning PLC.
Yeah.
So there are some structures people put in place as well. And I like that Leslie also has learning from students. Does anybody, Leslie or anyone else, want to share, how are your teachers learning from students? Because not everybody thinks about students when they think about professional learning.
Well, I'll start since I said it. Some students are very computer savvy and they're able to help the teachers sometimes who were not so computer savvy when we first started all of this virtual learning, and they were able to share some tidbits about sharing screens and things like that to the teachers before we really learned it ourselves.
Yeah, in thinking about technology, I've seen schools where they've tapped students, older, middle high school students, to run little professional learning sessions for teachers. And what a great role reversal that has been, and how empowering for students. Anybody else, just not in terms of distance learning, but how are the adults in your building learning from students? Anybody have any thoughts about that? You can just unmute yourself if you have a thought.
Good morning, everyone. Drew Dalton here from Prince George's County. I think one thing is resilience and determination, because now educators have been put behind the other side of the glass, per se, and seeing how children struggle with learning and themselves navigating all the different online platforms that they have to use and jump in and out of. So, I'm only a K-5 school, but some of my fifth graders, they help the educator when there's a problem with Peer Deck or Google Classroom and navigating around it.
Fantastic. I love that. Yeah, our students do. They're often the model of resilience. I'm going to open this up beyond technology, but I think some of the ways I've seen the adults in our building learn from students is by soliciting feedback from students, right? Giving a survey, you teach a lesson and then you give a survey and you ask students how it went, right? Looking at student work. Looking at student work is a great way to learn as a teacher, because that's a direct reflection of, how you did in teaching a concept. So what I'm trying to do is open up the idea. A lot of our teachers, when you ask them about professional learning, what do they think of? Oh, the workshop on Wednesday, at the end of the day. That's what they think of. And you can see from the chat, there's just a plethora of opportunities. People are learning individually on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. People are working together as part of PLCs. There are intervisitations. Teachers are going into each other's classrooms and learning. When we coach teachers, right? I'm trying to see, did anybody say coaching? When we coach teachers, that's professional learning right there. We can't forget that. Sometimes teachers don't think of it as professional learning, but when they co-plan a lesson, that's a great way to learn. And if you as the leader, sometimes it's more effective than even observing a class, is spend a period planning with a teacher. That's tremendous professional learning. So we see a lot of different ways that our teachers are learning. So let's step back for a second and take a look at what the research says. So this is based on some research from Linda Darling Hammond, a professor out of Stanford. And these are sort of 7 really strong ways that we can make sure that our professional learning is effective. So first of all, that it is content focused. It's focused on what teachers are actually doing, not someone coming in and picking some other topic, or not about, planning the field trip for next Tuesday, but it's really focused on pedagogy or the discipline specific content, math or science. Second part, just like our students, when it's more active. I know we're all sitting here in front of a screen right now, but if you do in-person professional learning, if you can make it active, adults appreciate that the same way that students do, and it helps them retain and remember more. Third, just like with our students, if you can make the professional learning collaborative. Learning back to the time of cavemen and cavewomen around the campfire, learning was collaborative. It's something we built. I share an idea and then Mark says, well, how about this, and adds to it, and I add to it. And the learning is much more powerful when it's collaborative. Also, when it's collaborative with your 7th grade team or your math department, it is going to be content focused. It's going to be focused on the problems and the issues that they're dealing with in their classrooms right now. Fourth, we need to provide models of effective practice. I don't know if this is your experience, but sometimes as a professional learning session, and we talk around a topic, but we don't actually show teachers a model. So if you really want your teachers to learn how to put kids into effective collaborative groups, show them a video or go into a classroom of a teacher doing it well. Show them a model. Right? You want teachers to plan lessons more effectively, show them a model of an effective lesson plan that really works. So teachers need models of what works so that they know what you're expecting and what to do. And then certainly coaching and expert support. Teachers can do a lot from considering their own teaching and learning, but to have somebody else see what they can't see. You know, we all think we have really good views of ourselves, but we're actually not so great at having a very accurate view of ourselves. So that's what you do when you observe a class or an instructional coach comes in, is to provide a mirror, share what you saw, and then share some of your own expertise. So the coaching and expert support. Feedback, yes. You'd be surprised at how many teachers say, you know, I really don't get any feedback on my job. We all need feedback. As leaders, we need feedback on our jobs. And it's not exactly what John Dewey said, but he said something to the effect of, we don't learn by doing, but we learn by reflecting on doing. So providing some time for teachers to reflect, even in a staff meeting, because sometimes they feel they're too busy, they're planning lessons, they're grading papers, they're dealing with those students who are coming back to in person. So give teachers time to reflect. And then finally, PD is of sustained duration. So it is great to bring in someone from the outside, but they're not there the next day, the next week, the next month to give ongoing feedback and observation. So the best PD is really sustained, like PLCs that meet weekly or bi-weekly. So these are just some of the aspects of what makes professional learning effective.
Hey,
And
Jen, can I share something real quick?
yeah, go.
If you think about your SAM daily meeting, all 7 pieces fit, don't they? We have a principal who just got hired as a superintendent in a different state and district. And she said that her biggest aha in moving into her new position was how lonely she felt not having her SAM daily meeting. And so she started the SAM process right away, because she said this really gave her the opportunity to have daily professional development that was content focused. She was thinking specifically of her work with people. Definitely active, always collaborative, because the SAM is always working with you, and your SAM team often expands to include other leaders doing the same kind of work you're doing. Models of effective practice, obviously, because you're looking at how can I be more effective in working with people. The coaching is consistent because that SAM is trained to not tell you what to do, but get you to think about it. Lots of feedback and reflection. And the sustained duration is maybe why the SAM daily meeting is such an effective professional development vehicle, because every day you're doing this and you're connecting what you did from the day before and you're using your data. Jen, I didn't mean to interrupt. Well, I guess I sort of did, but I wanted to mention that really the PD is everything you do. How you interact with people develops or doesn't develop the person you're working with. And that SAM daily meeting can be an excellent way to not only develop yourself, but show others. Another principal I know wanted to help someone who was trying to work with a PLC, see how their daily meeting went when they were doing the SAM process, and asked the person to watch it, and then said, how could you take what we're doing and apply it to your PLC? Coaching, professional development, it's all interwoven. Sorry, Jen, I couldn't help myself.
No, I'm thrilled to hear that this is reaffirming what a lot of you already do in your SAM meetings. That is a lot of why we go back to research to reflect on what we're already doing. So that's perfect. So I'm speaking to the right crowd, or I don't need to be here because everyone knows this already. But no, it's a great interjection. So what we're going to focus on, you just saw the wide range of what professional learning can be. 40 minutes is not long. So today we're going to focus on the professional learning workshop, usually something you use when you're introducing a new topic. And I'm going to share 2 tools with you that you don't want to miss. The first one is, and I put a link to it in the chat. We're going to read it in a moment. It's 4 A's to plan professional, adult professional learning. And I love this for its simplicity. I'm using it today. And I think it's a fantastic tool to have in your toolkit. And the second one is a part of professional learning that is sorely missing. And Tom Guskey talks a lot about this, and that's evaluating it. How do you know if it was any good, if it had any impact? So what I'm going to do is have us all just go on mute, and for 5 minutes, if everyone could click on the 2 links in the chat, let's just read. And doing a live read is a great thing to do in a faculty meeting because not everybody does reading when you give it ahead of time. So if you have something short, it's well worth 5 minutes of your time. So I'm going to shut up and let's take 5 minutes to read these 2 tools, and then we will discuss. up if you're pretty much done. Let's see, I gotta go through another screen. Let's see. Okay, all right, great. So I love both of these tools. People have found them incredibly helpful for planning professional learning. So I want to start by taking a look at the 4 A's and having us collaboratively plan a mock professional learning session on student engagement. So let's say tomorrow we have a professional learning workshop with our teachers, and students are really exhausted on Zoom and they're not engaged, and we want to increase student engagement. So it's easier for me if I don't share my screen, but basically if you could have open your 4 A's, then that would be helpful. Does everybody have their 4 A's? Okay, so taking a look at the first A, anchor. So what kind of task, and let's brainstorm in the chat, and the more ideas, the better. So you have your teachers come in, the topic is increasing student engagement, and it could be remotely or in person, doesn't matter, but increasing student engagement. What might we do for an anchor activity, a task to get our teachers to access their own prior knowledge or experience with engagement? So what might we do as an anchor task? If you could put that into the chat. And it's important to be good with wait time with adult learners as well as students, even on Zoom. So I don't mind the silence. Let people take a moment to think. What might you do for an anchor activity for your teachers to help them access their previous experience with student engagement? People could share in the chat. Okay, so Shauna shared, perhaps show a video of a recent activity in classes and have teacher add feedback on Padlet. But let's go back a step. I love that activity. That's a great one, Shauna. But how could you start with the teacher's own experiences with student engagement? Every teacher in your building has had some experience with student engagement. Great. So Letitia says, list some engagement activities you've used in your own classroom, right? Every teacher has tried to engage students, hopefully at some point, whether they're a first-year teacher or 20-year veterans. So you can do a big brainstorm. Everybody share, what's 1 or 2 engagement activities you've already tried in your classroom. So that connects them to their experience. Have teachers tell their favorite student engagement, right? Have them share what was their favorite example of an activity where you got kids really engaged. Fantastic. What have you recently done that got good engagement? Absolutely. You could do it in pairs, like Shauna says, right? With a partner, share your best engagement activity with a partner. I love this, Amanda Fielder. Ask them to recall and share memories of their own favorite teacher or class. That's always a great way to build community with teachers, to have them think back to their own experiences and ask them, so when were you most engaged with a teacher or a class? I also might even ask, when outside of school were you most engaged? So why not take some learnings from experiences outside of school that really engage our students and try to bring that in as well? Yeah, so the idea is great. Holly says, have a word cloud. What's the first word that comes to mind when you think of student engagement? So you're getting teachers to think about every teacher has an experience with student engagement. And this first step, this anchor, it follows one of the basic principles of adult learning, which is that our adults do not come to professional learning sessions devoid and empty of experiences. They are not vessels to be filled. Every adult comes in with experiences. And if we can honor that, they will appreciate that we are not just trying to fill them with ideas, but we want to build on what they already know. So that's a great first step. So now the second step, the second A is add, a task that adds to what the teacher already knows. So now they've shared what's in their experience, but we want to give them something new to think about. So what might you do for an add activity? How could you give your teachers some new knowledge that they didn't have before about student engagement? Great. So Letitia says you could show a video of a teacher who's really engaging students right there, right? Here's a new example. Fantastic. Yep, Shauna said the same thing, right? Show a video with a high level of engagement. Cheryl says, share an article. Tons of articles about student engagement, right? So you could do a live read like we did. You could ask them to read ahead of time, but why not read a little bit together? Have them read, and they may learn some new strategies they never thought of before. Showcase some of the best practices from teachers. Yeah, if you've been observing different teachers, you might be able to share some of what you've seen, and that might be new to a number of the teachers. And yes, Samuel also says perhaps share an article. You could model an engagement activity, right? That's great. School leaders who feel comfortable lead something in an engaging way, so you're actually modeling, and that may be new for the teachers. And then the third step is apply. And that's, we don't expect our teachers just to lecture at our kids. We expect them to create activities so that students engage with the learning. So Leslie said, oops, what I said before was apply. I was waiting for your response to use it for apply. So you've shown them a video, you've given them an article, you modeled. So now what? They're all sitting on their butts. They've just observed passively. What do you want them to do actively now to apply? So let me go back. So Leslie, where is her original one? Well, I will just share some of the ones that I saw already that look like they might be apply. Have them score a student they work with. So have them actually, let's see, we need them to do something. Okay, so review a previous lesson plan and see how they could enhance the engagement, right? That's doing something. They've learned something new and now they're looking at an actual lesson plan. Write a new strategy for an upcoming lesson plan. Great, so they're doing something with the new knowledge. Have students walk the point. So I don't know if you're suggesting that the teachers actually do as if they were the students to do something engaging. But the idea is that you want teachers to grapple with the new knowledge. And it doesn't have to be something that's so exciting or so sexy. It could literally be discuss the article that I just gave you with your partner. That's doing something with it. I think it's even higher up to have them apply it by looking at a lesson plan from yesterday or from tomorrow. But then the highest level is away. So you want them to plan, okay, so we have this hour that we're talking about student engagement. How do you know that it leaves this room? So what's an activity you could get your teachers to do to plan for what they might do tomorrow or the next day or the next week? So what might be your away activity for the student engagement? And I think some of what people said with the lesson plan, right? You could have your teachers come with that lesson plan that they have for the next day and now take what you learned today and insert some more engaging activities, right? Lesson study, take a lesson and together as a group. What if collaboratively your 8th grade English teachers came together and they took a lesson plan and you said, here's your away activity. We're all going to teach this lesson plan in the next 2 weeks. what can we do to improve this lesson plan and add some more engaging activities? So these 4 A's create a framework for the next steps. These 4 A's are not so complicated, and not only can you use them to craft professional learning that's more engaging, you can also give it to your teacher leaders as they're running their meetings. And if you notice from today, I did an anchor activity by asking everyone to think of a professional learning topic that you've done recently or you plan to do. Then I added to your knowledge by both sharing the research on professional learning and then also giving you 2 tools and time to read through. So hopefully some of that, there was something that was new that I was adding. And then the apply, we did the apply here together as a group in a collaborative way. And then the away is going to be in a few minutes, where I really encourage you to stay in breakouts where you're going to take your professional learning ideas and share, this is what I might do for my anchor activity. This is what I might do for my ad. So we're going to do that in breakouts. But before we do that, the second piece is this tool here from Thomas Guskey. So one of the most neglected pieces of professional learning is evaluating whether it was worth the time, the thousands of dollars you put to the consultants, everybody's effort. Is it worth it? And so I love the way Thomas Guskey says, let's think about these 5 levels, and I would use this tool to plan my professional learning. So think about the participants' reactions. So today, right? How might I evaluate the participants' reactions here today? Or for student engagement, how do you know whether, student engagement, how would you know if your participants enjoyed that session, right? You might give them a survey, a questionnaire. That's the thing we do most commonly. But how about learning? Did your teachers really learn something about student engagement? And it doesn't have to be something fancy, some big fancy research project. No, you could talk to a few teachers. You could ask for feedback. Did you learn? What did you learn? What did you learn today? What's one big thing you learned today? Then organizational support. Are you planning for organizational support for what you're going to do so that teachers can increase student engagement? A lot of us don't think about that. We ask teachers to do this, but we don't plan for the support. And then the actual use of new practices, certainly you can do a walkthrough and see, is this really happening? And the highest level is, did this impact student learning? And you don't have to wait for those standardized tests. You can do smaller, more formative types of assessment to see, did what you presented impact student learning? So I'm going to encourage all of you to stay, and just going to offer, if there's any way that I can help, if you've got any questions about these 2 tools, or you want to share with me how you've used them, this is my email. I do have more book summaries about professional learning. And actually, I really encourage you to read last month, February's edition of Educational Leadership, the journal. The theme was professional learning, and there's some fantastic articles. I really encourage you to take a look at that. And if you want for your own professional learning, you want to check out my mastermind group, Anna's in my group, you can take a look here. But what we're going to do for a moment in breakout rooms is I'm going to ask each person to take a turn. You speak, just a very brief introduction, who you are, and then share one idea you have for a professional learning workshop, or something you plan to do or you have done. And then really concretely, what's something you might do for the anchor, the ad, the apply, and the away. And then let other people in the group share their feedback or add other ideas. Oh, here's something else you might do. And then let a second person present. And if you're lucky, maybe you'll end up in a breakout room with other people who are doing the same topic. We saw a bunch of overlap, which I thought was really interesting. So I'm going to put these steps into the chat, which you can see even when you're in the breakouts. And then maybe, Mark, if it's possible to put people into groups of 4. But I hope this was helpful, and reach out if I can answer other questions. I think professional learning is exciting and a great way to bring your staff together and make some changes.
Hey, thank you so much, Jen. Everyone, I know you'd like to thank Jen, so if you'd like to put something in the chat box, please do, or you can wave or give her a thumbs up right now. Thank you, we appreciate it. It's kind of interesting, teaching and professional development are the same thing, and it's interesting to me how much harder it is to do it with adults, and how much importance there is in making sure that whatever you're doing has that follow-up and that it's frequent, and it just requires more. I kind of disagree with the belief that adult professional learning is different, or adults learn differently. I just think they're slower. I think we're slower and just need more encouragement and a positive atmosphere. You gave us a really nice tool, Jen, in terms of planning. And I really liked how when you talked about the evaluation piece, you could use it in planning as well. And so it was really nice to have those tools, and I think we're going to be able to use them and enjoy them. For everyone, again, if you'd like to stay for the breakout rooms, please do. You don't have to. You can follow what Jen had suggested in terms of talking about what we just did, or you can talk about something else if you'd like. We will send you a link to this recording, and also the tools, another link for the tools, and an ability to sign up for the main idea if you'd like to receive that, if you're not already receiving it now. We're going to go ahead and create breakout rooms right now. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Take care, everyone.